we're going to look at working backward. If you are given an answer, essentially, like here we're given a volume and you have to work backward and figure out the surface area. So in this situation, we've got a cylinder. I give you the height of the cylinder is 4 centimeters, and the volume of the cylinder is approximately 452.39 cubic centimeters. And it asks you to determine the surface area of this cylinder. So I'm going to talk you through this. I'm going to ask you, if you're taking notes, I would pause the video at certain times and write things down and then start up the video. But first thing what I would do is I would draw the net. I would unfold this shape to kind of break it down into its pieces. So I'm going to do that. I'm going to cheat here and use the software I've got. Here's my lateral area. It's going to be a rectangle. If you're not sure why, go back and watch my cylinder video. It kind of explains why. Here's a base, and I'll copy this base. Okay, so here's our net. And then next thing I want to do, once I have this drawn out, I want to label what is given to me. So it tells me the height of this cylinder is 4 centimeters. Let's write that down, 4 centimeters. And that's all we know. We don't know the radius, we don't know the diameter, we don't know anything about this thing, just the height. But we do know the volume. So we know that the volume is 452.39 cubic centimeters. Okay, so what I'm going to do is, if they give me the volume formula, I'm going to write, or give me the volume, I'm going to write down the volume formula. So the volume we've talked about is the area of the base, times the height. So what do we know in this equation? We know the volume that's given to us. We know the height. So the only thing that's missing is the area of the base. So let's plug some stuff in and solve for the area of the base. This isn't going to give us the surface area, but we're going to get another step closer. So we have 452.39 equals area of the base. I'm just going to abbreviate area of the base times the height, which is 4. So if I want to find the area of the base, I'm going to divide both sides by 4. And I got a calculator here. So 452.39 divided by 4. 452.39 divided by 4. And I get 113.0975. So 113.1, we'll say. That's the area of the base. Okay, so what I want to do is I want to look at this base. This is this circle here, and this is just a circle. And to find the area of the circle, we would do pi times the radius squared. So for the area of the base, it's pi times radius squared. I'm just going to write that in. We'll say pi r squared, and that's 113.1. So I'm getting closer. I can figure out the radius now if I divide by pi. So 113.1 divided by pi divided by 3.14159 approximately. So I get 36.00000. So it'd be the radius squared is about 36. I'll give myself a little room here. And then I'll square root both sides, and I get a radius of 6. So if you haven't paused the video and written anything down yet, now would be a great time to do that. And then I'll label everything, and we'll try to figure out the surface area of this shape. So we know the radius is 6. We know the area of the circle, and maybe I'll write the area in red just to kind of distinguish that. So we know the area is about 113.1 for both of these. So for the surface area, the only thing we're missing is this lateral area. And we have the height of the lateral area, we just don't have the width. And if you recall, the width of the lateral area is the circumference and the circumference is pi times the diameter. Well, guess what? If we know the radius is 6, then the diameter would have to be 12, so this would be pi times 12. And since we're using approximate, we'll type that in our calculator and see what that is. So let's clear this out. We'll go 12 times pi. And I get 37.699, so 37.7 approximately. So that means that this length right here is 37.7 from like the width of this shape. Okay, so to find the area of it, I'm going to go 37.7 times 4, because that's the area of a rectangle, times 4, and I get 150.796, so 150.80 would be my area if I round it. And so we're really close. For the surface area, we just have to add up the 3 pieces. So the surface area is 113.1 plus 113.1 plus, so these are the 2 bases, plus the lateral area, 150.80 or 8. And we'll type that into our calculator, plus 113.1 plus 113.1. And we get 376.996, so about 377 if we round it. And that would be centimeters squared. So just to summarize, the first thing we did was we drew the net. And then the next thing we did was we wrote down the volume and wrote down the volume formula. Then we plugged stuff into the volume formula, we worked backward, we figured out the radius, and then once we knew the radius, we could figure out the lateral area, and then we added them all together and we got our surface area. So when you're doing these problems, I would really encourage you to draw out the net, write down the formula that they give you, of the thing they give you, work backward for what is missing in that formula, and then try to answer the question. So that's one example of how to work backward with a cylinder to find something that you're missing.